In countless movies, we see beautiful country and natural scenes, mountains, lakes, snow on the hills, through massive windows, only to have that shattered instantly when a video call comes in. It turns out it's a computer screen. Nah, wasn't a window, it's a computer screen. But it was a nice view. Now, my TV also does this, has a picture mode. I can set the edge of the screen to become a picture frame or a window frame, and a picture's anything I want it to be. Well, I'm Dave. Welcome to Dave Takes It On. And we asked, do we actually need windows? Specifically, do we need windscreens? Someone believes you don't. And have you heard about Michael Jackson and the Ferrari salesman? Well, keep watching to find out. And if you do like this video, then please click the like button. Well, I'm surprised this subject's not come up before. You see, when I started work, I was an officer in the Royal Navy, and I found on ships they don't have portholes. In fact, it's only the captain who's got a window on the bridge so he can look out to dock the thing. But the rest of the time, we don't need windows. And of course, submarines, nothing at all. So I got used to working in an environment where there was no windows. Military aircraft turned out to be the same. They got one for the pilot to look out the front, but apart from that, guys in the back don't need to. They don't know where they're going half the time, but when they get there, the door opens and out they pile. They don't need windows. Well, later on in my career, I worked in HVAC, heating, ventilating, air conditioning. Part of my job worked as a sales engineer. One of my customers was Shell, and specifically I worked at the Stanlow refinery near Chester. I was selling maintenance contracts and HVAC systems for the multiple control centres in the refinery. See, the refinery is a multiple source of processes, and each one has its own control centre. There are dozens and dozens of them. Now, I know most of you will not have any idea just how large this place is, but imagine it's about 5 miles long and a couple of miles wide. It's like a town or a city. Well, each of the processes has its own control room and its bomb-proof, blast-proof bunker. The window is a 6-inch quartz window, and there's only one window in the entire building, and that's the side facing the process it's controlling. I suppose when they can see if it goes wrong. Well, they didn't seem to need a nice view out over the oil refinery. But it does bring you back to that. What would you rather look at? Would you rather see a beautiful alpine scene or a beach, or look out of your window onto a petrol station or a factory? Oh, by the way, if you like this video, please hit the like button. If you want to see more, please subscribe and click the notification bell. Well, Polestar have just launched their Model 4, and it has no rear window, making this the first in the world. Well, no, sorry, correction, Captain Scarlet for all of those who are of a certain age. Anyway, so why do we have windows? Like in a house, any structure without windows is much stronger. It's probably also lighter and cheaper, but it's certainly stronger. Now, looking back into the 50s, when aircraft first started coming on the scene, jet aircraft, there was a comet, de Havilland Comet, that crashed a couple of times, killed a lot of people, sadly. But they found out that they had the windows slightly too big. It caused a structural stress at the corner of the window, and it had split the fuselage, depressurized, etc. And that's why today, when you get in a plane, all you've got is that tiny little oval of a porthole, about the size of a paperback. Would we miss them if they didn't have windows at all, like in the military aircraft? Well, it's aircraft, but let's get back to cars. Now, there was a famous story about Michael Jackson. He was my boss at one time. Not the Michael Jackson, the singer. This was Michael Jackson. He was sales director of a company, and he would travel all over the country and attend meetings, sales meetings, and he came to our meeting regularly as one of those. And all that happened was we used to have chats about everything before and after the meeting, and it always fell to cars. And we were all mad keen car fans at the time. And Michael Jackson used to drive around in any old rubbish. He really didn't have one. And it turns out he was a multi-millionaire. He could easily afford one. And so, of course, we put pressure on him. And in the end, we said, you know, you've got to get yourself a decent car. So he said, well, funny you should mention that. I've seen a Ferrari, a bright red one in the local Ferrari showroom. And he says, I've been thinking of that for some time. But yeah, you're right. I can afford it. It'd be nice to have. And yeah, oh, okay, I'll go and get it. So we didn't see him for a couple of weeks. He doesn't come to every meeting. And then finally he turned up and he was driving a Subaru Impreza. And we all went, Michael, what have you done? And he said, I'll tell you the story because it's so funny. He said, I went down, I had my checkbook in my pocket, and I really went down to buy this red Ferrari. So I got into the showroom, and there it was on the showroom floor, and this supercilious salesman came over, and he annoyed me to start with. He said, yes, sir, can I help? And Michael said, I've come to buy that red Ferrari. And the salesman said, you need a test drive, sir. And Mike said, no, I've decided to buy a red Ferrari. Can I buy it? He said, no, you need to fully appreciate the engineering and the ethos of the car, and you need to go out and have a drive and really get involved in it. And in the end, Michael said, okay, let's go. So they jumped in the car. Now, first thing Michael said was he hated it. He'd not sat in it before. He said, it's horrible. He says, it feels like you're sitting on the road. It is so low. The seats are not that comfortable. They're not fully padded and everything. They're more like deck chairs. He says the dashboard was really basic, loads of dials, but really basic, no comfort. He said it was just not what I expected from a Ferrari. So anyhow, they set off, and he said, yeah, instantly in his mind, didn't tell the salesman, but he said instantly in his mind, can't have this. He said, the noise is deafening. There's no soundproofing. Or if there is, it's not very effective. It's just a constant drone. Now, if you're just nipping down the golf club, not a problem. But I do hundreds of miles, as you know, and I need a car I can cruise in comfortably. And I could not put up with this noise for the motorway for hours on end. And then he said when he got back to the showroom, he tried to park it. He said, you cannot see out the back of it. There is nothing to see whatsoever. The rear pillars are like 3 foot wide. It's like a letterbox trying to look out the back. And you can't judge the length. He said, I just gave up and got out. Anyway, the salesman came over, said, let's go in and do the paperwork. And Michael said, no. He said, not having it, and walked off. He said, I've never seen a salesman's face like that before in my life. And he realised he'd lost a sale, because had I just been able to buy it, he'd have been a happy salesman, but I walked away. Anyway, it does just show you that some people don't have a particularly good view out of the back of your car. Now, good example of that. Well, first I went out to my car. I have a Tesla Model S, and I thought I'll sit in the car, I'll turn round, and I'll take a photograph. Well, this is the result, and I have to say, when you're looking in your rearview mirror, it seems a lot bigger. But looking at it, that window, the area you can see through, is really quite small. And you get a couple of guys in the back, and you can hardly see anything out of it at all. And I was out on a filming expedition with Jonas recently. We went to the Trafford Centre. It's a Tesla supercharger. There's 18 superchargers there. Now, normally Tesla superchargers have that rumble strip, the bump stop in front of the charger, so that you can't run into it and knock it down. Well, because the chargers are always off to one side, it's not quite the same problem with a Tesla. However, they nearly all have them, and you just literally reverse back slowly until you just bump into it, then stop, and your car's in exactly the right place. Trafford Centre, they don't have them for some reason. I thought that was strange. What they have at the back of the bay that you reverse into is a metal pole with a sign saying superchargers, Tesla chargers only, no parking. And there are 18 of them, and all 18 poles were pushed back. They were bent. They'd all been hit into. Oh, you've got to think, we've got Teslas, we've got rear view cameras, we've got all sorts of things, and yet every one of these poles had been knocked at some time. Now, it was probably very slow, didn't do any damage to the car, but it just shows that even with a small camera on the back, you can't judge these things every time. It made me think about caravans and trailers. How do they manage? Because once you put a caravan on the back, and the Polestar and a lot of Teslas are used for towing caravans, you can't see a thing through your rearview mirror. Vans also seem to get on quite well. So you've got to ask, is it better to have a camera? Well, in fact, is it better to have cameras? Because we always have a blind spot. It comes up on display as warnings when you try and overtake. Check your blind spot. And in fact, if you had a couple of cameras there, you could avoid the blind spot altogether. So no blind spot. And one other advantage of not having a rearview mirror would be that the computer can monitor all of the cameras at once, so it can see behind while you're driving forward. You can't do that. You have to look up at the mirror or your door mirrors. A computer can look at 8, 10, 12 cameras all simultaneously and see exactly what's going on. That should be a lot better, shouldn't it? Certainly for a caravan, you'd be able to see what's behind you. Well, it could also be able to be cheaper to make. Might be safer, a little bit stronger. Well, we've got to look at it and see what's going to happen, because this is the first time this is being tried. And it's a bold move by Polestar. I just wonder, will it catch on? Well, I know for a fact the airlines have been looking at this for some time, and it would be safer and cheaper with no windows. Forget that little tiny oval porthole. You could have a big 20-inch LED screen. That would be much better. So would we miss them? I don't know. It's a difficult one. It would certainly be a little bit safer. Apparently the airlines say it's a lot cheaper and a lot weight saving as well. So maybe they're waiting for someone to try it. So Polestar, your Model 4, you're a groundbreaker. Let's see what this does. So let me ask, what do you think? Do you think this will catch on? Would you buy a car with no rear windscreen at all, just a camera? Let me know in the comments below. I'm Dave. Well, thanks very much for watching. If you have enjoyed this video, please click the like button. And if you'd like to see more, please subscribe and click the notification bell so we can notify you next time we launch a video. And a massive thank you to all our Patreon supporters. It is your support that enables us to go out and make these videos for you. So thank you very much for your contribution. I'm Dave.